I have started recording and let me start sharing my screen. Okay, we will consider a very simple example. Okay, very simple example, and then we will uh, try to understand this topic. So what we are going to discuss is when you write a method, right, you put public void and then you have this parenthesis, right? What is the meaning of this, right? We will discuss all of this today, and also regarding constructor, right? It is an important topic. They'll be asking you a question in the interview, so we are going to use constructor as well. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new example, new project, and that project will be a Java project, and I'm going to name it as uh, Java Basics. Java Basics, and then I'm going to say finish. I'm going to say no here. And inside Java Basics, I'm going to, under SRC, I'm going to create a new package. I'm going to name this as, again, Java Basics package. I'm going to say finish. And then let me close all of these existing classes that we have created previously. And let me do this. Let me see. Let me increase the volume so that now, so I'm going to create a class here, new class, and it will be my main class, basically, from where I'll be calling method, right? I can name it anything, but remember, when you name your class, it will be upper camel case. It will be starting with upper letter, and then every word will be started with a uppercase letter. So let's say my main class.
Using the class or test engine?
No, it is a basic Java, not testing. Okay, I'm going to include a public static void main set now. So the goal here, right? The goal here, I have this main class, and then I will have another class. I'm going to create another class. I'm going to name it as my methods CLS. I don't need a main there. Okay. Now, so first of all, see, I'm doing double, and I'm saying num1, num2, and result, this three variable. Okay. Now, if you note this, if you declare any variable inside the class that is not inside a method, then these are called instance variable. These are called instance variable. So these variables that we have declared, right? These are not inside any method. Okay, you know what is method, right? Okay. Now let's say that you have these three variables, right? These three variables, and these three variables, num1, num2, and result. Num1, num2 is the um, variable, and result is another variable. All of them are double. All of them are double. Now let's create a method. I'm going to create a method, public method. I'm not going to create any other public. And uh, let's say that the result that we are preparing, we are going to return this result to, actually, for now, let's consider void. What void does. Remember, we use that void word. So let's understand what this void does. Okay. Now let's say that I'm putting what's called I'm putting set num1. Okay, set num1 and here I'm going to say num1 equal to, okay, in this one, right, I'm going to put int n. Actually, not int n, I'm going to say double n, double double num1 equal to n. Okay, now, so num1 we are setting num1, and then I'm going to have another method. I'm going to copy the same method. I'm going to say set, and I'm going to say set num2, and then I'm going to say num2 equal to this. Okay, num2 equal to this, and then over there I will have a method, right, for returning result. I'm going to say public double, okay, calc result. Here I'm going to say result equal to num1 plus num2. Okay, and then I'm going to say return result. Okay, now, so if you come here, this is my method class. You come to your main method. If you want to use any of this method, you have to create an object. Do you understand this, everyone? If you want to call this result method or set num1, set num2, you have to create an object here, right? You have to create an object here of that class, let's say my obj. So how do you create it? You create, okay, like this. Okay, then, right, then let's say that if you call this one dot, yeah, dot operator, I'm giving it a little bit time, yeah, it will throw an error from here. If you call this now result, right, result, and then you say, now if you call result, so what you see that there is a, the method result is undefined for, actually not result, it is dot calc result, right? Now it is kind of showing an error message. If you put your multiple markers, if you go there, let me see, yeah, I'll have to put that semicolon at the end. Okay, now let's say that this calc result method, what is it returning? It is returning a double value, and we are we are adding num1 and num2 and returning that. Now if you do something like this, system dot out dot print ln, and then okay, and then let's say if you run this, you run this result, what do you have in result? 0. What do you have in result? 0.
Yeah.
Now let's say I'm adding a word here, result equal to, and then you put a plus here. Now if you execute, result equal to 0. You got it? Result equal to 0. Why result equal to 0? Can anyone explain?
Number.
So here we do not have anything in num1 and num2. Is that correct? Now I am going to bring something. I will explain what this does first, and then I'll be bringing constructor, right? Can you see set num1? So
If possible, if text font little can make bigger.
yeah, okay, 1 second, let me see. Edit. Window, run, project, properties, and then what is editor, task validation, architects, Java coverage, builders coverage, Java code, Java editor, Java editor, Java log, project okay. In editor, where do I configure workspace settings? Restore. Run project settings. Give me 1 second. Let me just do a quick search. So they are asking on the Eclipse toolbar, select window preferences, set the font size, generally preference, right? Eclipse, select window, and then preferences, right? You go to Eclipse window, and then there is a preferences, and then there is a general, and then appearance. After that, preferences, right, and then font size, general, appearance, colors, and font. General, appearance, under appearance,
Yeah, that's next to the preference, colors and fonts.
colors and fonts here. Text, compare, git, Java, view, and
Basic. The basic, you go to the basic.
basic. Okay, link content. Okay, let me take a look. Yeah, then. So color and fonts, basic, text font. Basic and text font.
Font over here.
Text font and text font. I want at the moment 10. Let me put 14 and see how it goes. It's good now. Okay. So so here at the moment, if I run it, it will show result equal to 0. Result equal to 0. And I am able to, can you see my object dot calc result? I'm able to call it in that way. It is getting 0 because why it is getting 0? Because I have a double. It is returning. If you have a, like, if instead of void, if you have double here, basically this method will be returning a double value. Since I do not have anything in num1 and num2, that's why result is being returned 0. Okay, now so let's say that if you call this set num1, and what is that here, double n, that means when you call this method you have to supply a double value. So let's say set num n, you go there. So before you call this result, right, you say my obj dot set num1. And when you set num1, can you see you have n here? That means you have to supply a value. So let's say I'm going to supply 15. Okay. Now if you run it, now I have 15. How it is working? When you call set num1, right, what happens? You go there, that num1 will be coming in that n variable. And then we are storing that n variable in that num1. So since num1 is a class variable, instance variable, right, it is available throughout all of the methods. Whatever method you write under this class, this num1, if you initialize the value to inside any of the method, this value will be going into num1 and it will be available. Like after that I'm using it here, num1 plus num2. I do not have anything in num2. Now let me go there and let me call initialize num2 as well. Okay, you come here, press my obj dot set num2. Can you see set num2? Now you, let's say, put 10 here. Okay, now if you run it, right, if you run it, you will see that it is 25. Okay, so when you call set num2, right, then what is happening? Num2 is coming into that n. This is, it is coming here. Num2 is coming into that n, and that n is going to num2. And when we are adding result equal to num1 plus num2, then we are having 15 plus 10, 25, and then we are returning that result. And that is where, when we are printing here calc result, the result is coming here. In the print statement, the result is coming here. Do you understand what we are doing so far here? Any question?
Yes.
Any question up to this? Any question?
In this main class, the last time we put the standard printer on the result. So we calling the result from here. Can you call this result the method class also?
Method class from there.
Can I'm just trying to know the, can you make return like the same way? If we try to make, yeah, I know we can do it from there, but we can put a system dot print and result over here also.
Yeah, you can. You can.
I'm trying to know that instead of making from the color method, if I need to call the color like method class from the method class declare it. So on that time, I don't need to go for the main class.
Yeah, if you want to call it from your method class, yeah, you do not need to go to the main class.
Yes, I'm trying to clarify this.
Yeah. So here, the thing that we are learning here is how you can send, like when you call a method, how you can send a value to the method. When you see I'm sending 15 here, what is the mechanism you can send a value to the method? Okay, we have practiced that here, we have practiced that here, and then in this method we are learning how we can return something when you call a method, right? The key goal here is to send value to a method and to return value from a method. When you call method, right? How you can send value and how you can return value from the method. The key learning objective here is these two things. Okay. Any further question, guys? Okay. Then let's say that you saw that if we do not send any value, if we comment out this, if we do not call this set, then it returns, right? So now we are going to bring constructor. So remember, constructor is public. Constructor doesn't have any return type. Constructor has the same name as the class name, and then it will have a set of parentheses like this. Okay, constructor will be like this. Okay, now constructor, what we do normally in the constructor, we can do many things. One of the common thing that we do, we initialize value for the class variable. Let's say that if you put here num1 equal to 50 5 and then num2 equal to 6. Okay, now from here, did we call constructor this my method CLS, this constructor? Did we make a call? But if you run your code, right, you will see that it will be printing result 11. You got
Same name of the class name.
because we have a constructor. Can you see? We have a constructor, my method class. We have a constructor, and when you declare object of this class, right? When you declare my object, it will automatically call this constructor, and it will be saving 5 and 6 in this two variable. Okay, and then even though we haven't called this num1 and num2, but still I have a result, because where do I get data to get result? Because from my constructor I have 5 and 6. I have initialized 5 in num1 and 6 in num2, and then when we are adding
Well, my question is over here. So over here, the num1 plus num2, they are going to the method calc result from the main class.
So
they're connecting with the calc result from the constructor method.
So can you see we are calling calc result here?
Or from the main, through the main class from here. Yep. Okay, I got it.
We are calling calc result here, and can you explain how this 5 and 6 going into num1 and num2? Because when we are calling, we are getting num1 plus num2, but before that num1 will have to be initialized with 5, num2 will have to be initialized with 6. We didn't make a call here for anything other than calc result, right? So how we are getting 5 in num1, 6 in num2?
Because we already declared the object of that class. So that was, it was connected with the main class actually. So from the main class, we having this object, my object in the last line. And that was we calling from here, we calling the calc result. So this calc result, that's why that connected with the calc result. And over there we declare num plus num1. So from this construct, that's why the value of
we have num plus num1, but where did you get 5 and 6? How did num1 get 5, num2 get 6? Like when you declare the object, it will automatically call the constructor, and that's how num1 is getting 5, num2 is getting 6. Does it make sense? So this is what called default constructor. Can you see? It doesn't take any parameters. Doesn't have any parameters. it will be automatically called when you declare an object. This is what called default constructor. Does it make sense? Okay. Now we are going to do a parameterized constructor. Okay, we are going to do a parameterized constructor. You will see that. Let me write it, because public and my class name is this. Okay, and then I'm going to put this. So let's say in this particular constructor, I'm going to say double D1 double, actually N2 and N1.
Use it by like double N1, comma N2.
No, in here you cannot do double N1 comma N2. When you declare instance variable, you can do that, but in the parameters you cannot do that. Okay, now we are going to say num1 equal to N1, num2 equal to N2. Now if you let's say if you run it from here, what will it print? It will still print 11.
Because it's taking the default constructor.
Default constructor. So when will that, can you see we have another constructor here. This is parameterized constructor. When will that parameterized constructor take effect, right? So it will be taking effect. You come here. If you, we are going to declare another object. We are going to declare another object. I'm going to say my object 1, and my object 1, right? Let's say system out println. Copy this line, and then you call it by my object 1. Now if you run it, right, can you see in both case result is 11. Result is 11 because in both case result is 11. Why 11? Because in both case default constructor was called, because we have a parameterized constructor but we didn't call that parameterized constructor. How do you call parameterized constructor, right? Parameterized constructor, how many value it can take? The parameterized constructor, it can take two values, double n1 and double n2. So if you supply here, let's say when you declare object, there is now, since you have a parameterized constructor, you can send, let's say 10, right, comma 11. Now if you run, can anyone tell me what this obj1 will print? 21, because the way we have declared the object, we supplied two values, and when you supply two values, then it will be calling that parameterized constructor. Okay, and when parameterized constructor will be called, num1 will have n1, num2 will have n2, and then you print, then it will be printing. Can you see, when you print my object 1, you are calling calc result by my object 1, and when you have object 1, you have supplied two values, and these two values went to num1 and num2, and when you are calling this method by my object 1, basically num1 is 10, num2 is 11. So when you run it, it will be printing. Now you'll see it will be printing two different results. Result 1 is 11, result 2 is 21. Does it make sense? Do you understand what I'm trying to explain here?
So one is a default constructor and one is a
parameterized constructor. In default constructor, you see that we have initialized the class variable, okay, instance variable. And in parameterized constructor, we have taken value when we declare the object, and this value came into num1 and num2, and then we are printing the result. Okay, are we good up to this? Okay, do you think you can practice quickly this example that we did? I can give you, 10 minutes, and can you make sure you have this example ready as it is, like the way we have written it?
Well, I'm watching the video with my mobile basically. In another house.
Oh, you are in another house. Okay. So
Yes.
I see. So how about others? Do you think you can do this in 5-7 minutes, and we can take a look how you did it? Guys,
You can do.
yeah, 5 minutes. 11:30. 11:30. I'm going to bed. So let's do this and let's connect at 11:30. And also I'll be asking few questions to you. Okay. For now, I'll be stopping recording. Okay, go ahead. Please explain.
So I have created input variable here where all the numbers will be stored.
Mhm.
And this is my constructor, default constructor. This is the parameterized
Constructor.
constructor.
Mhm.
This is where I'm setting for num1
Num2.
and num2. And this is where I'm calculating the result.
Mhm.
In the main class, I'm calling the object over here. And I'm setting up numbers for the methods for set num1 and set num2.
So do you have like, have you printed the result outside? Do you have, I see that you haven't called the parameterized constructor, like you didn't declare an object that will be calling the parameterized constructor. Okay, we'll get back to your computer night by soon. So you got my point, Nipa, what you need to do. Okay.
Oh, yeah, all I'm doing is calling the parameterized constructor, right?
So you have to declare an object so that the parameterized constructor is called, and also you have to print the result in the outside. Like the way you are calling the method, it will not be printing the result. So you have to use that method inside system out println.
Tell me why I'm getting an error here.
Okay, so can you see println, and then so it will show an error because set num1, when is it returning anything, that set num1, that method, do you return anything from that set num?
No, no, no. Sorry. I'm returning from the result.
So that's why it is throwing error. So why we are saying 7 here in the output?
Adding the 3 and the 4.
3 and the 4. So what do you have in your default constructor?
On the default constructor, I have 3 and 2.
3 and 2. So why it is the way you have declared the object, it should use the values in the default constructor, right? Why is it is not using it?
I didn't call the default constructor.
You called the default constructor, definitely. When you declare an object in line number 6, you have called the default constructor. So after calling default constructor, you put 2 and 3, but later on, before you do the sum, let's say you do the sum, can you copy line number 9? Copy line number 9, not 8, copy line number 9, and number 6, after line number 6, put that line, after line number 6, yeah, put it here. Now execute it one more time. Now you are seeing two data. One is 5, another one is 7. Why?
It's running the constructor
First, and
before going through the method.
before, so first of all, it is showing the result of the default constructor 2 and 3, and then you are reassigning 3 and 4 to the num1 and num2. Then you are changing the value of num1 and num2 by calling methods num1, set num1 and set num2. And then when you are doing adding one more time, now it is adding 3 and 4. Does it make sense? Okay, okay, very good. Now let's do, can you declare another object so that it will be calling the parameterized constructor? So what do you do if you want to call the parameterized constructor, what do you do?
I think that's how you do it directly. Call use the class name and name an object.
So if you want to call the parameterized constructor, right, parameterized constructor here, then basically you have to give value, right? You have to give value, like go there.
Double one and double 2.
Put a different value, put 8 and 9. 9. And then if you want to print the result, what you will have to do? object2 dot calc result. Okay, now if you execute, so what do you see? Okay, can you see that in line number 9 you have print, but you didn't use print line, so that's why it is printing this one and the next one in the same line. Now you execute. Okay, so can you explain the result?
Going to the default constructor, where it says 2 and 3, adding the result, and that's when I'm getting 5 points all. And then it's going to the parameterized constructor, where it's adding these two values, and it's getting the values from here, where it says 8 and 9, and it's printing it here. And then in num1 and num2, I'm setting 2 new values, and it's printing it in the results section for those 2 new numbers.
Yep. So now you understand what is the purpose of default constructor, parameterized constructor, how you can send value to a method, how you can return value from a method. You understood all of this process? So what I'll be expecting, you will be preparing 5 more example like this. It could be with something else where you will be practicing, you will be sending data to a method, you will be returning data from a method, you will be using default constructor, you will be using parameterized constructor. I want you to prepare 5 more example, one for default constructor, another one for parameterized constructor, one for how you send data to a method, one for how you return data from a method. So these 4, and another example combining all of this function. These 5 example I want you from next week. When you come next week, you prepare these 5 examples. And where will you get examples? You can search, okay, Java code examples to send data to a method, Java code example to return data from a method, Java code example to showing default constructor, Java code example showing parameterized constructor. You do a little bit analysis and get the example from there. You can copy from there, but you will be able to explain it to me. Okay, sounds good. Yep, very good. Same thing for Nahid Bhai and Naved. 5 examples that you will be preparing. Besides preparing that QA questions suite, you will be preparing these 5 examples. Okay, Nahid Bhai, if you can share, let me take a look what you have done. Yep.
This is the method class actually. Initially, we declare the double the variables, now results. And this is the default constructor, and we have the value over here, num1, num2, and this is the parameterized constructor, which have the variables to contain the values which will be supplied from the main method, and this is the same containers from num1 and num2, and this is for set value. If we supply the values from the main method for these 2 methods, and this is the calculation method. How it's gonna method num1 plus num2, and this is the return of these results. Okay, now we'll go to the main. So this is the make the object of this method class. First one, this class object. These 2 I comment out. You put the if you use this 2 methods to supply value. So this is the for the parameterized method, this object we declare class object 1 with the subtype value, and this is the print statement with this whatever calculated with this object when you call it. So let me run it like that. Okay, this is 7. This 7 coming from this default, this 3 plus. So the default constructor result is 4 actually. This because I'm when it's applying for this put num and put to this values. This so that's why it's taking the default one. And this 11 coming from over here, we supply what is supplied in the parameterized method 5 and 6. And if 5 and 6 come over here, double n1 and n2 storing over here. So this is the parameters results. We can also, if you don't want the default, we can comment out this to, we can remove this. Now the result will default. It don't take the default constructor because now it's applying this value. So put now you're using this method, these two methods. So now the result will be different. This because now it's 25 because now this heading is taking is used. We calling these two methods. Put num1, put num2, and now we're supplying the values from the main method. 15 and 10 for both methods. And both methods coming over num1, num2 is setting over here. Is now is returning over there the class object class results. That's the difference.
Yep. So now if you execute, what will it print? Before you execute, can you tell me what will it print if you execute now?
Now it's supplying, so this will be 25 because we supplying this value.
So you have two print statement. For both of the print statement, what will it print at the moment?
25 and it will go at the parameters will go 11.
So you have a print statement in line number 13 and you have a print statement in line number 14. In line 13, what will it print?
It will print calc object because this time I'm using these two methods. Put 9 and it will be 25 for this.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, next line.
And next one for this parameter, this is object. This object I'm calling from this. This is for parameterized. So in parameters, I'm adding this to 5 and 6. Okay.
Now if you put that, so it will be for the line number 14, it will be printing how much?
This parameter, these two values, 5 and 6.
11. Now if you put your line number 11 in line number 7, if you take out line number 11,
if I comment out.
Take out, copy it, cut it. Line number 11, you can cut it. And you can put it in line number 7. Cut and put it in line number 7. Now what will it print?
Now it will print the default constructor first. So
no, go there. When now you have two print statement, line number 13 and 14. What will it be printed?
To the same actually.
Same?
I'm supplying this, I'm using these methods, the values initially. Because if I supply the values, then it's not going to take the default constructor. But if I don't supply the values, it will automatically go for the default constructor.
So what, can you tell me the exact amount it will be printing?
Print 11 first, and it will print out the 25.
No.
Yeah, it will do the same because I put the print on it. It will be do 25 first, then 11.
No. Nipa, can you explain?
First, it's going to print the parameterized constructor. Did you have anything in your default constructor?
Yeah, we have, but I'm
Can I see your
using
default
this one.
constructor? Okay, so first it's going to print 7.
Nope, 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 nope. Naved, are you there? Naved, can you hear us?
Can you go back to your main class?
It's not going to work for default constructor this time because I'm using these two methods. You see, num2, num2. Because when you use this
First
method,
it's going to print 11, then it's going to print 25.
No.
because I have the print statement, I have this one first. So it's gonna call this calc method, this one first.
Oh, no, 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 no. It's not going to print anything because we have the printing statement outside. Like, so basically, the first printing statement, you have to have it after line number 7.
No, let's say that the print statement is where it is. Now what will it print at this situation? Value. Output value, what will be the output value at this situation?
So this
It's going to be 25. 25 only, I believe.
25 for both of the print statement?
and 11. Because the 21st one will be 25. This one. And this one will be 11. Because this is parameterized one.
Nope. See, you are the constructor, the default constructor is called in line number 6, and the parameterized constructor is called in line number 7. But the problem is, after calling these two, you are executing line number 8 and 9. When you execute 8 and 9, so that when you execute line number 7, you are putting 5 in num1, 6 in num2. But when you execute again line number 8, then you are putting 15 in num1. You are replacing that 5 with 15. And in num2, you are putting 10, because when you are calling line number 8 and 9, whatever you put in the constructor, it is gone. It is gone, because what are you doing in line number 8? Show me what you are doing in line number 8. New number. So whatever you are doing in constructor.
Parameterized value is saying it's gonna change.
Yeah, it is going to
It'll
change.
only print 25.
Yeah, it will only print 25. That is what I was expecting, that you will be able to answer.
When you run, it's 11 again.
Run it, please.
It supplies only this parameters value.
Okay, so here put num2. Okay, so here is the thing. Can you see, when you have called in line number 8 and 9, when you called, how did you call?
I just
No, go there in line number 8 and 9. When you call these two method, what object you have used?
The first one.
You have used first one. You didn't use the second one. So let's say if you put CLS object 1,
change to the parameters value.
then it will change. Okay. Now for the first one, why it is putting 25?
Is when you're setting this method, it's not going to use the default constructor values. It's going to use our subprivate values from this method.
Right. Can you see? Because you have called this num1 and num2 by the object that you have declared for default constructor. Okay. Now if you call this method like in line number 8 and 9 by
then it will change the parameters.
So let's say that copy line number 8 and 9 and put it in the next put it here and call this by CLS object 1 as well. Okay, now you execute it. So what do you see?
Instead of 5 and 6 is 10.
Setting up the new number.
10 and 10.
Mhm. So both default constructor and the parameterized constructor, both object, can you see both object when you call put num1 by object 1, that means you are changing the value of num1. Like, can you see, for when you have class object and class object 1, these two objects, that means num1, how many instances of num1 you have? The question is, when you have two, like class object, CLS object, right? CLS object and CLS object 1. CLS object, for CLS object, you have a num1. For CLS object 1, you have another num1. Can you see? Each object has its own instance of num1 and num2. Does it make sense? Oh, you didn't get it. So you have two objects, right?
I called two objects,
Okay.
but
Two objects. Now each of the object will have their own instance of own. Let's say that you have a you have a soccer ball that you bought from Walmart, right? I got the same ball, soccer ball. Then same ball, but you have your own instance. I have my own instance. Does it make sense? Okay, let's say you bought the red color of the ball, I bought the white color of the ball. Okay, soccer ball. Now you have your own instance of soccer ball, I have my own instance. Similarly, right, class object and class object 1, class object has its own instance of num1, object 1 has its own instance of num1. Does it make sense?
now I got it. So you're saying each object have different num1. Okay.
Different num1, they have their own copy. You got it? Okay. So in this case, will you be able to, the 5 example that I'm talking, will you be able to have this 5 example ready for our next session?
Not with. I think we'll do some different way, like some string supply.
Yeah, you do different way. I just want you have practice enough for sending data to the method, receiving data from the method, using default constructor, using parameterized constructor. Yeah, you just create.
We use some string. We'll use something.
Yeah, that's fine. That is fine. Yeah. Okay. All right. So in this case, you have your QA questions example that you have to do using TestNG. You have your core Java code that you will have to write. On top of that, let's talk about interview questions. So you said, let me stop recording and let me answer your interview questions related query. So I'm stopping recording here.